Hello, welcome to the CIV Podcast. You might notice that we don't have our regular hosts, Ryan and Alex, for this season. It's because we're doing something a little different. We're going to be exploring some topical series for a few episodes. And so for this first portion of our series, we're going to be kind of exploring the idea of mental health. And we're going to be talking to Dr. Kofi Bonnie, who is one of our church members. He's an elder here at church, and he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of training in this area, well-versed in it, and so we're excited to be able to have these conversations surrounding mental health, spirituality, how to practice good mental health and mental wellness, and so we're excited about these episodes coming up. So, yeah, I know we've got a few topics lined up over the next couple of episodes, but for this first one, we just want to kind of get to know you, and to know who you are. What's your story? What's kind of brought you here? So let's start off with where are you from? I know you weren't born in Canada, so where were you born?
Yes, so I was born in a town. I'm tempted to call it a village, but I'll call it a town. In Ghana called New Tafo in the eastern region. And actually, the story of my life is that my auntie helped my mom deliver. This lovely baby boy.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, close to about 50 years ago.
Wow.
And the story of my life is the story of grace, God's favor, and just faith.
Amen.
And throughout this story, I would like to emphasize that.
Yeah.
I'm the third son, and also the third child of Pastor Favour Bonnie and Mrs. Emilia Bonnie of blessed memory. Mm-hmm. So I'm the middle child.
That's her full name, of blessed memory?
No.
Oh.
I just added it because I lost my mom.
Yes.
Yeah, I lost my mom about 3 years ago. But my mom is Ikuanyako. That's her name. Her maiden name was Ikuanyako Emilia Buache. Yes, but Emilia Bonnie for short.
Okay, because I know we were talking about this, and you guys have like a very different naming system than we have here in Canada.
Yes.
So tell us what your full name is, slowly for the listener, and then break it down for how the name works.
So my full name is Papa Kofi Esiedu Ahomka Bonnie.
Okay.
The first word, I think that's what you're leading to.
Yeah.
That's Papa is a prefix, and the real name is the Kofi. So they are within the Ashanti tribe or the Akans. Mm-hmm. We have 7 masculine names, 7 feminine names based on the day you were born. Mm-hmm. I'm a Friday born, hence Kofi.
Okay.
And the prefix Papa is to differentiate between myself and other Kofis in the household.
Okay.
Yeah, so Papa, Kofi. And as you know, my 3 kids, I have Papa, Eko, Mami, Ama, and Nana Abba.
Yeah.
So their real names is Eko, Ama, and Abba. The prefixes is just to differentiate them from other siblings in the household.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you were born in a not village but a town in Ghana.
Yeah.
And you said you're turning about 50 years old. Soon.
Yes.
Which is not possible. There's no way you're... There's no way
I'm still waiting for my grace. I can't wait to get it.
So as you kind of reflect on 5 decades of life, maybe just kind of give us a brief history. Let's take it decade by decade.
Thank you.
So it's 5 decades. Let's give you 5 minutes per decade.
That would be perfect.
Okay.
That would be perfect.
So let's go through the decades 0 to 10. What you were delivered by your auntie.
Yes.
And then kind of give us that early childhood for
Yes.
Kofi.
So the first 5 years, I think I can recall up to 2 to 3. Before my mom passed, I had some memories, and I checked with my mom, and she confirmed that was when I was about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So I can confidently say that they were really great years. Really great years. My dad was then church pastor, district pastor, and also taught at an SDA teaching college. So he was very busy, but any opportunity to be home, he will be home. We spent a lot of time with either mom or dad. One of them will be predominantly at home. And I know we were very naughty. I had 2 older brothers that were just naughty, and they drew me along, but they quickly realized I had really interesting ideas to help everybody up their game on naughtiness.
So you were the instigator.
I don't think we instigated. Everybody
Everybody
played a
did it.
role. Yeah, but we were those kids that, and I for one, I think I was just that one that you could not leave us unattended.
Yeah, yeah.
So everywhere my dad will go, he makes sure he goes with us. On church, whilst he's preaching, we are sitting at the rostrum, facing the congregation, and
Yeah.
I'll be making faces, and people will be laughing, and my dad knows that this guy is up to something. We entertain the church members. My story is a story of grace, the Lord's favor, because a lot of people in the church contributed to who I am today. It is they just involved us in church. We had a small group. 3 of us sang actually at church. We had good voices. We will sing. They will give us gifts. They will. We will be invited to be paid. I do recall being paid boy for I think 7 times. About half of the weddings, I really don't know why they even got such a naughty boy to carry their ring, such prized possession.
Yeah.
I have ideas actually walking down the aisle and I sometimes like, why don't I run away with this ring? But I just stay focused. But I was naughty, but grounded in the church. Still respected every aspect of the church. My dad disciplined us. I was good in school. My first thing is, I think I was really good in school. My teachers played also an important role. I'm trying not to mention names because I may forget somebody that poured all into me.
Yeah.
And I mention names and I do not mention that person's name.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of
There's
them.
a lot of them,
Huge,
for sure,
huge,
for
huge,
sure.
huge community.
Yeah.
The Asokore community.
Yeah.
The Koforia Church, the school I attended, also homeschool, my nursery, Dolly Memorial at Labone. I was one of the funding students where we started in the garage of this lady, Mrs. Madison's house. So I do have, and I still have friends that I keep in touch with, childhood friends from grade 1. They were there at my mom's funeral. A ton of them. Actually, I can recall over 50 childhood friends that I'm still in contact with. So first 5 years, memorable. I think I was generally okay, but a lot of naughtiness, a lot of disobedience, but did not fool around with any aspect of God. I had a very curious mind. I wanted to know everything about the world today, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that also got me into a lot of trouble. But on the whole, I'll summarize it as very memorable and okay.
Yeah.
The colorfulness starts in the next decade.
Okay, so yeah, life got colorful 10 to 20.
Yes.
And I love, naughtiness. I know, because a lot of people, if you're familiar, if you're listening and you're at church, a lot of folks see you, and like you're a very respected member of our congregation.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
you are for sure. and I think a lot of people see you and they see your leadership and they see your kindness and they see your care that you have for the youth and for the young adults and for just the people around generally.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people might be surprised to know that Kofi was a naughty boy growing up.
Yes.
So without getting, you don't have to get into too many details, but to kind of give us a picture of the grace that was given and the kind of mentorship that you had, like what kind of stuff were you getting into that you needed that foundation for?
I've tried not to go too much into specific because I don't want to glorify those acts.
Yeah, for sure.
At the same time, too, you will not have an appreciation of it if I don't give you some details.
Yes.
So after the first 10 years, I'm now approaching secondary school, which is I'm here grade 7 upwards. By then, I have added vandalism to the naughtiness. I've added disrespect to the naughtiness. I've added disobedience to the naughtiness. I've added all sorts of vices to this naughtiness. And I was good at it. I've added bullying, teasing to that naughtiness. I began questioning whether God did exist. But every time I got into trouble, I will ask God for help and He will deliver me.
Yeah.
Not even once. Not even once.
Yeah.
I do remember a family came to visit my dad, or somebody came to visit my dad, and whilst the person was having a chat with my dad, we went to his car, started moving the car, and we were leaving on the slope.
Okay.
So people started shouting when the car started going down. We did not know how to drive.
Yeah.
You could imagine.
Yeah.
Yes. It didn't kill anybody. I think they were
Wow.
able to throw stones under the car to slow it down.
Yeah.
For the car to stop.
Wow.
We challenged each other to climb a mango tree. And mango trees do not have strong branches.
Okay.
One of my brother came, zero gravity, down,
Yeah, fell.
unconscious.
Wow.
One stuck a branch around his neck, strangling. He could have passed away.
Yeah.
We tried climbing to the attic of the house
Yeah.
with something that looked like a ladder, but it was not. We got into trouble, so much trouble. There are aspects that there are people who were having dreams about us not making it to our 18th, 16th birthday.
Wow.
And they will share it with my mom. My mom was both my parents are very prayerful. But I could see my mom always pouring out, praying for us. And will ask us, what can she do to make us calm down?
Yeah.
And it's not that we loved her to bits.
Yeah.
We wanted it to come out. But there was so much fun around us that we could not slow down.
Yeah.
So I mentioned it was difficult. This is when I moved to secondary school. And so far, I had not attended an Adventist school. And my dad had reasons for that. I'll leave it for later. But I attended a public boys' school, Accra Academy. And I met people who came with a different level of vices and level of anything.
Yeah.
And there too, I did shine. And I'm talking about level of naughtiness.
Yeah. You elevated the naughtiness.
I did elevate it.
Yeah.
I did elevate it. I thought people were bad, but I looked at them, I just smile in my head or laugh at them because I can say this not in a proudful way, but just to glorify where the Lord has brought me from. Because my thoughts were just deadly and not any way glorify God. God has brought me this far.
Yes.
God was able to change my thoughts, change the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
There are times I questioned faith. My dad was a pastor. My dad never forced me to get baptized. Most pastors' kids were getting baptized early. Never questioned when will we get baptized. Actually, my dad was really surprised when I talk about the next decade is when I got baptized.
Yeah.
So womanizing was part of all these vices. There's so much I do not want to even sometimes think about. But the story of grace and God's favor, I would like to magnify.
It's powerful.
Yes.
Now, when you were in these teen years, did you get into a lot of fights?
Yes. We've got two older brothers.
That's why I
close
asked.
in age. So there's a lot of fighting. And I think we've really dirty we fight with knives.
Wow.
Yes. I do remember so many times that we fought with bottles, broken bottles.
Like as siblings?
As siblings.
Oh, my.
That we were ready to kill each other.
Wow.
It's just by God's grace. Because I do remember, I'm now tearing up because I know my brother remembered this.
Yeah.
I think he did something to me. I got really angry. I got a big knife, just threw it at him. By God's grace, I missed the target.
It didn't hit him.
He
Wow.
wouldn't be surviving. We had an arrow in this house, and this arrow had poisonous tips. There are times that we've threatened to shoot each other with that arrow. So if I look at my life now and say I just want to amplify God's grace and favor, I really, truly mean it.
Yes.
Because between my brothers and I don't think anybody has a scar.
Wow.
With all the amount of fighting we did,
Yeah.
nobody has a scar to show
Yeah.
that we were that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember tearing all my brother's martial arts certificates
Yeah.
because he was using me as a punching bag or
Yeah,
for
punching
his
bag.
really bad. But we are close. We're close.
Yes.
We're close.
Because I remember we were talking about this like a while ago, and you were saying that you really didn't, like, when you got into school of trouble, you didn't really have to fight because you had these older brothers that
Yes.
were fighters that would come in.
Yes.
And I remember you telling me like what for the listener or the watcher, what do your brothers do now?
So my older brother Jojo is a pastor. He's I think the director for youth ministry at the South England Conference.
Yes.
And my other brother is an auditor for the conference, for the South England Conference in the United Kingdom, UK.
Yeah.
And both of them were not this quite good people.
Yeah.
We all attended Accra Academy.
Yeah.
Jojo had a big fight. I don't remember the grade, his form. We use form rather than grades.
Yeah.
I don't remember the form, but he had a big fight. Everybody saw that fight. And from there was respect. You gain respect after a fight.
Yeah.
And Nana Joe also had a big fight. After dining hall, we were all coming down. We hear some people fighting by the tap where everybody will wash their plate. I rushed there, and Nana Joe was in a tough fight. This guy looked big.
Yeah.
Somehow Nana Joe was able to get this guy on the floor.
Yeah.
So there was that respect. And I didn't have to fight.
Yeah.
If you get close to me, I tell you, you know what my two older brothers can do.
Yeah.
If you want me to change your dentition, just try me. So that accorded me that, I would say, respect. And I'm generally very friendly.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm generally very friendly.
Yes.
So for you to get me to fight, yes. There was also so many stories during my years in Accra Academy. I was naughty. People knew me as very naughty. Some people would say I was very wicked because of the bullying. So the senior boys really bully younger students. And I had wicked ideas. I said I had all these vices. So if I want to hurt you, I know how best to hurt you.
Wow.
Yes, I know how best to hurt you in a very mean way. I was reported several times to the senior housemaster. But because of how, I would say, smart I am, you cannot get me.
Yeah.
There was one case that my brother and we beat a couple of boys. I beat them with left marks on them.
Yeah.
We were called in. I denied it. I was not there.
Yeah.
So you have to prove whether I was there or not.
Yeah.
The head teacher was confused. They asked the boys. Every one of them said, I did it. I said, I was not there. They didn't see the person who did it. They asked for statement. My brother wrote a statement. I refused to write a statement. So my brother was punished. My brother was lashed. And they do public lashing in assembly hall. Nobody could do anything to me. I went to the head teacher. They tried. I was not there. Nobody could convince anybody I was there. But I knew I did it.
Yeah.
I knew I did it.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of... And convincing, straight face. I did not do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see, because I think there's an element of, like, we all have this... A lot of us have this past, have this history that we're not proud of, right? Especially when we come to Jesus.
Yes.
Once we come to Christ, it's like, man, all those things like that we used to glory in or laugh at, like, it brings shame,
It
it's
does.
like, oh, I wish I hadn't lived like that.
It does.
But I know that I think it's just a testament to the power of God's redemption.
Amen.
right?
Amen.
That like you're talking about these stories, and I know you're just barely scratching the surface,
Yeah.
but like that is now like a doctor for mental health.
Yeah.
And then you got your brother who's a pastor in the
Pastor.
conference for like South England, right?
Yes.
And a youth pastor and is a director
Yeah.
of youth ministry there. And then you've got your other brother who's, an auditor for the
Church, yeah.
conference, and I think like, Pastor Nim and I have talked about it in the past, like on a previous episode. And we talk about it sometimes in the front too, that like both of us too, we weren't, no one would ever guess that we would be pastors, and I think that's one of the crazy things that we've seen time and time again is that those kids that people often discount, those kids that people often think are going to amount to nothing,
Yes.
that if you can find, actually, I don't want to jump ahead because I know you got a little bit more story there, but if you can find people that are willing to believe enough in them, that are willing to pour into them, like the amazing things that God can do through people like that,
Amen.
is just a testament to
Amen.
God's glory, to God's goodness, to
Amen.
God's grace.
And throughout the second and the third decades, God was so good, provided so many mentors. In school, my group of friends, lots of people at church. Lots of people at church.
Yeah.
I was so loved. There are people who paid me to read. There are people that I had to register for a national exams and I forgot. Well, no, something happened. I did not to register. Somebody in the church took it upon herself to make sure. She was an executive at work. Made sure I wrote the exams so I can proceed with my education.
Wow.
There were members of the church who actually helped me to be an entrepreneur. That person invested in me, gave me money, seed money, to do a business and giving back her seed money. When you have a certain history, people do not want you to get close to their daughters. But they have mothers, plenty of the mothers, that still trust me, which humbles me if I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they will let me even talk to their daughters, let alone invite me to their house for lunch or spend time in their houses. As I say, there are so many people that have blessed me, spoken into my life,
Yeah.
helped me be who I am today.
Yeah.
So the third decade
Yes.
was things got worse, but God delivered.
Amen.
So at university, I think first year university, the third decade is, I think, the most colorful and the most textured. I'll try and keep it simple, but I started working, made a lot of money, and within 6 months, I realized money does not give happiness. So decided to go to school, go back to university to study psychology.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be a doctor, medical doctor, but I lost the plot in my second decade during high school years and wanted to make money.
Yeah.
My exposure to mental health, let me actually backtrack and talk about my exposure to mental health. It comes in the second decade. I think it predates the second decade, but let me focus on the second decade because before I entered the boarding school, my mom advised me, no matter what I do, I should never touch drugs and alcohol, and I did not. That's the only vice that I can confidently say I never have touched it. With her education, she knew the chances or the probability of me developing a mental health disorder will be high if I use substances.
Oh, wow.
And although I was disobedient, there are things that my mom says that I cannot ignore. I listen to her and it has saved my life. And I know my older brothers also listen to my mom, especially on that advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has served us very well.
Yeah.
So in the third decade, or the bottom part of the second decade, we formed a choir. The choir grew to about 70 people, New Vision Choir, Labone Church. The church, there was growth in the church, so a second offshoot came out of the church. So we had to step up and join the choir and play important roles in the church. Some church members were not sure, knowing us, whether they can trust us with certain positions.
Yeah.
But there are some that spoke for us.
Wow.
And gave us a chance.
Wow.
And in serving, we actually started changing. So I know you preach about this, that sometimes the Lord is not looking for the most qualified. He's looking for people that he can qualify. That was my story. That was my story. And I've always been fascinated by mental disorder.
Yeah.
I do remember as a kid, because of my naughtiness, everything, my dad could not leave me at home. I'll go with dad I'll join dad, or dad will take me along when he's going for visitations. We've been to Panta Mental Hospital with my dad. I could not understand why older adults will be so scared of needle. I now understand there was Lagatil that the nurses will be injecting them, and they hated Lagatil. Is a strong major antipsychotic, which causes drowsiness and a whole lot of other side effects. I do remember my dad praying for people with mental illness because the family members thought they were demon possessed. So these are all things that have informed who I am today when I'm talking about spirituality, mental health, and race.
Yes.
Third decade, still on the third decade, went to university, discovered clinical psychology. I did not know about clinical psychology. Most of my experience, I did not know about clinical psychology that well till I took a class in clinical psychology by Professor Dankwa of blessed memory. I only found out he passed, I think, 2 or 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
But he was a good mentor.
Yeah.
I went to the class. He was talking about catatonia, catharsis, and psychosis, and it just spoke to me in a way that no subject I've spoken to. I decided to pursue clinical psychology.
Okay.
So moved from completing my first degree in Ghana, University of Ghana. I relocated to UK. That's a long story. I'm just giving you a short version. Yes, without a visa.
Yes.
All the required documents. Pure immigrant. Like, this is the immigrant story. This is the Lord's grace and favor. Because before then, I had been refused visa to the US twice. But I got visa to the UK.
Yeah.
Whilst in Legon, went to work, came back, went back, interviewed for clinical psychology. Although it was reserved for British citizens, I was able to get an interview.
Wow.
And it was at that interview that the panelists, 2 professors, Professor Ian Robbins and Ruth Jordan, decided to direct me to psychiatric nursing. Full scholarship.
Wow.
Full scholarship. I did not pay. There was some stipend. And I didn't even have the visa to live in the UK.
Wow.
I didn't have the visa to live in the UK.
Yeah.
My story is a story of God's grace and God's favor. So that's the third decade. Then I had developed a relationship with God. I got baptized in my early 20s. My dad baptized me. He didn't know he was baptizing me. I think he knew there was a last candidate.
Yes.
He lifted his eye just to see me walk down the pool at Laboni,
Wow.
SDA Church, and my dad baptized me.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm now moving on to...
Yeah, let's talk about your 30s. So you went into psychiatric nursing, and then where did you go after that?
Yes, so at University of Surrey, I did psychiatric nursing for my first degree again. Then I did advanced practice in psychiatric nursing, still under the mentorship of Professor Ian Robbins and Ruth Jordan. They carved opportunities for me to look at going to academia and doing advanced practice nurse, which is in North America is more of a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
So I completed that education, and I think there was they liked my research. My interest was in people who use substance use and have mental disorder. And also interest in race and religion in mental health.
Okay.
So my first research was race, religion in acute psychiatric care. I wanted to explore why people who do not seem to have faith, agnostic, atheist, make reference to God and the devil during their psychotic episodes.
Interesting.
And the other interest was that could not understand why in acute psychiatric setting, minorities are overrepresented.
Okay.
And if I say minority, a lot of black people
Yeah.
end up there for the population that we were serving does not represent the population well. And that is similar in British Columbia too. So after finishing my master's degree, worked in the UK, all private, public, NHS, in different settings at the Priory, so many settings. Met my wife, getting to my 30th birthday. Got married around my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
We dated for about 18 months before we got married.
Where did you guys meet?
In Toronto.
In Toronto. Okay.
Yes,
cool.
I came to visit my uncle.
Yeah.
And met her at church.
Okay. So
Yeah.
church is the place.
Church is the place.
Yeah.
Church is the place. My story is grace, favor, and everywhere I've been, the church has been a huge support to me.
Amen.
There's a lot of people that have blessed me at church in so many ways. They've supported my education. They've supported my ideas. I've also found, let me put it this, I've also found a lot of people that I kind of fool with, or who promoted my fooling. I'm talking about my male friends.
Yeah,
they know
yeah.
themselves. I don't want to mention them.
I don't want to call them out.
Yeah. They got baptized way before I got baptized.
Yes.
But we used to fool together.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder, why did you get baptized? Some have been baptized 3 times, 4 times.
Wow.
I'm like, hey, dude, if you're not ready, don't go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that brought me to going back to the third, fourth generation, fourth decade. Finished, met my wife, story of grace again, opened the newspapers, looking for a job in Canada. Bam. I found a job at St. Paul's Hospital. My wife transfers from University of Windsor, where she was studying law, to UBC. We had a 4-month-old. We moved to British Columbia about close to 17 years ago. More grace, and God's favor. Got to be a clinical nurse specialist, nurse scientist, a professor at Douglas College, then Brandon College in Manitoba. Still wanted to pursue further education to explore what life has for me academically and also professionally.
Yep.
Applied to a couple of schools for my doctorate. A lot of people did not give me a good answer. I don't want to name all the schools, but UBC is one, UVic, University of Melbourne, University of Manchester. I come back home, have a chat with my wife about my doctorate. It's like, she suggests I should apply to Yale and Harvard. Yes. I tell this, it's a story of grace and the Lord's favor, because Yale and Harvard were not my first choice. They were my last choice. Usually it's people's first choice, and they fall on the other. Got accepted to Yale with full scholarship. Not full scholarship, some scholarship. As a Donadiers scholar.
Okay.
And completed my studies 2017 and have since not returned from the States. I continue to work in the States. I've been worshiping with Church in the Valley at least over 15 years.
Wow.
At least over 15 years. When we moved from, when my wife completed UBC law, we could not afford to live in Vancouver. So we moved to Surrey.
Yeah.
And before we moved here, the church pastor at Oak Ridge, Pastor Manuel Silva, directed us to come to Church in the Valley. Langley Church, before Church in the Valley.
Yeah.
So that's briefly a story. But I've left a lot out.
Yes.
There are a lot of significant events that
of course
will take hours for us to
Yeah,
capture.
yeah.
But I would like to end the story of my life this way. God has always been with me through the thick and thin. He's healed me from so many illnesses. I used to get malaria at least 3 times a year.
Wow.
And you know malaria can kill you.
Yes.
There's times I've passed out
Wow.
because I could not walk from the bed to the washroom. My parents were not home.
Wow.
And that stuck with me. So many accidents. So my dad, if he is listening, I'm sure he will still call me and warn me about it. We had friends
Yeah.
that had motorbikes.
Yeah.
And we ride with these motorbikes without helmets.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 1,000 cc's and 500 cc's motorbikes. Not even once do I have a scratch on me.
Wow.
When we learned how to drive, we push the boundaries on driving.
Yeah.
Not even one automobile accident.
Wow.
So many experiences.
Yeah.
I don't have time to talk about the visa stories. I don't have time to talk about all the scholarships. I don't have time to talk about so many aspects of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've once had a diagnosis that I will not talk about, but it was a deadly diagnosis. For now, that I thought life was over for me. But God granted me grace and His favor again.
Yes.
So my story is a story of God's grace and God's favor.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So if you're listening and you want to talk to Kofi about all his stories,
Yes.
you'll see him out in the lobby at Church in the Valley. Feel free to come and ask him. He'll entertain you for hours.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot of
Yeah,
stories.
of course,
Lots,
of course.
lots. God is good.
So so now that you're in your 40s, right? You're
Yeah.
coming up to your 50th decade. What do you do now? Like, so let us know a little bit, 2 things. One, where do you work now and what do you do?
Yeah.
And then also you serve pretty broadly in church. So tell us a bit about those 2 things.
Yes, I now serve as the director for mental health at Peace Health for the Northwest Network. So
In Washington State?
in
right?
Washington
Yeah.
State,
Okay.
yes. So Peace Health is a big organization, fairly big, about 17,000 or so employees.
Wow.
Community, and the key communities we are looking at is the north of Washington State and part of Alaska.
Okay.
So that's my catchment area. We have got 3 networks. I'm in one network. So for everywhere we have our footprint with Peace Health, I'm responsible for making sure our clients that seek care from us get the best possible behavioral health or mental health care they deserve. So that is my work. I still do a little bit of teaching pro bono.
Cool.
I do a lot of community engagement stuff.
Yeah.
At church, I'm an elder. I'm involved in the prayer ministry. I'm involved with Pathfinder. I support AOK if I'm needed. And I teach a class, Thrive class.
Yeah.
What else? Anywhere there is an opportunity to serve, I kind of lean in.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're a guy that loves to give back to the
Yes,
church and
yes,
loves to be around youth and young adults and kind of
Yes.
be that support system for them
Yeah.
as well, right? Which is really cool.
The church community has given a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I still support actually churches in Ghana.
Really?
Yes, I do. So let me quickly say, my mom wanted a church in her hometown. And it was a project on her heart. So years ago, she asked me to help her build a church in her hometown.
Yeah.
We are finished building the church. And I'm still supporting that church.
Yeah.
In lots of ways.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
some
awesome.
of the Art of Kindness ideologies is shared there. Actually, I think I have to I've never discussed this with anybody in this church, but yes, that is one of the churches that I support.
That's so cool. That's awesome. So I know for your job, like director of mental health, you're in charge of so many different regions, but I know you've talked about how you're not just involved in mental health, but you're training and leading other caretakers who are involved in mental health. Tell us a little bit about like why is that such a passionate area for you?
I think it was just by God's grace that I came into mental health. Because as I entered the area of mental health, I realized that the importance of mental health is somehow not, actually, we do not pay a lot of attention to mental health. It's seen as the second cousin. People talk about physical health. Let me start with the church. I've been in the church all my life. Most temperance programs are focused on nutrition,
Yes.
on healthy living, and very minimal talk on the mental health,
Yeah, it's often, if at all.
if at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can tell you, without good mental health, we have no health. I look at our school system as a parent, as somebody who have also been with people who are struggling. I cannot overemphasize the need for us to be more proactive and talk about mental wellness in every aspect of our life. So as a clinician, I realize I can make a difference maybe to 4 people, 10 people at a time. When I moved into education, that my sphere of influence increased to about 40 people in the class.
Wow.
So I'm training about 40 people to take care of more people, which I felt made a huge difference.
Yes.
But as knowledge increased,
Yeah.
I realized that my impact could further be extended if I move to leadership. Hence, me in the role I currently serve. And it's because as a leader, I still have students coming. I encourage caregivers to have students, providers to have students, and look for opportunities that education is an instrumental part of delivering care, so we can continue further extending, because access to mental health care is a huge gap in North America.
Yes.
In most places.
Yes.
So if we can educate more people,
Yeah.
that is why I'm doing this conversation with you now. That is why I do community talks.
Yes.
To talk about mental health. And in policy informs the direction of any organization or the work we do. So being there advocating for mental health in terms of policy and making sure we have the best possible care. Because I am a clinician, I understand how to even create evidence. We talk about a lot of evidence-based medicine.
Yeah.
I'm a clinician, practiced. I have been an educator. I'm still an educator. So bringing all that experience into leadership, I think is very important and have, I think, good reward or good outcomes than coming from a silo place to leadership. So whether it's in church, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, I look for opportunities to make sure people get the importance of mental health. Because without mental health, there is no health.
Yes.
It's an instrumental part of your mental health affects your physical health. Your physical health impacts your mental health. And the other interesting thing is your mental health has got an ability to also affect generations after you.
Yes.
There is this reading that I got that if somebody with mental health, right, when your leg is broken, yes, your family, few people around you, yeah. If somebody has a mental health situation and decides to bring a gun and kill 2 people, it has affected huge population.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not to, let me be careful, this is not to stigmatize mental health as being violent.
Yes, for sure.
Being caused, but the impact of mental disorders radiates. It's felt in the community, in families.
Yes.
Way broader than
physical
health.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
That is what I'm trying to bring out.
Wow. So then I know like community is such a big part of mental wellness.
Yes.
And good mental health. And I don't want to jump too much into it because I know we're going to explore this in a future episode. But you've talked a little bit about the mentorship that you received growing up, and kind of how the community was around you and saw the potential in you when you were a naughty kid,
Yes.
right? And I know that, like, Pastor Nim and I have talked about this, and I think about this for my own child too. When I'm, when he's older, when we're at the moment we're about a few weeks away from expecting, so I'm gonna have our first child, and I think about thank you.
Yeah.
I think about that, right? And I know Nim has had a few conversations about, like families and that are worried about their teens, that are
Yeah.
worried about their preteens, that are starting to explore. And last time we talked about this, you said that, I forget the exact wording you used, but like when you're at that age, you're like at a quest.
Yes.
You have.
Yes. It's a study by Professor or Dr. Harold. Let me spell the last name. Koening. Is it Cohen? Cohen?
Yeah.
He spent most of his life researching the impact of religion, spirituality on health.
Okay.
And his pronouncement in one of his presentations, his pronouncement was that we are spiritual beings,
Yeah.
and that there is a quest in humanity
Yes.
for spirituality.
Okay.
And that from your young age to your teenage years, it is that quest for spirituality that causes you to explore and succumb to use of drugs, sex. It is you are trying to fill a void that has been created by your quest for spirituality and religion. So this is the work, and he actually made mention of a research that explored this particular. I'll look for the reference and give it to you.
Yeah, that'd
But
be awesome.
Harold Cohen is the current director for spirituality, religion, and mental health at Duke University, one of the few institutions in the world that focuses on looking at the interface between religion, spirituality, and mental health.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this. You're saying this, especially during those preteen, teen years.
Yes.
There is this quest, right?
Yes.
And like you said, it's something that they often try to find a resolution through activities, right?
Yes.
And so I know, like, especially our current generation, our current society, I don't know. I think there's definitely, like, the sex, the drugs, the alcohol. That's something that's been sold so
Yes.
much in our society that
Yeah.
that's the thing that you'll find, freedom in, is the exploration of drugs and the sexual liberation movement, all these things that are trying to sell to such a young mind that that's the solution to the quest, right? And so that's why we're finding that there's such this large epidemic of young people that are sexually active, that are
Yep.
engaging in paraphernalia like drugs and like alcohol, that are drinking young and developing mental health issues and all these other things. And so as we're thinking about, like, our community, that inevitably there are kids that are going to be experiencing it, right? That are having these challenges. And I just think of myself as a young, in your words, naughty boy, right? That did experiment with some of these things. And I know that, like, my parents, I don't know if I've ever told them, but if they listen to this, they'll know now.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things that, because of the influences that I had
Yes.
around me, that I
Yeah.
dabbled and experimented with things that I shouldn't have, right? And it's so easy to get away with those things and, like, not have anyone know, right? Like, I still went to church, and I still involved, like you,
Yeah.
like, in leadership and
Yeah.
baptized young and
Yeah.
all these things. And then meanwhile, there's a whole different side of you that's out in the world that's doing these things. And so for parents that are wrestling with this, who might not know or who do know, what are some of the things that maybe you would say to parents that are experiencing teenagers or preteens that are going through this quest phase of
Yeah.
looking for spirituality and God, but dabbling maybe in the wrong areas?
Yes. The first thing I say, do not stop praying for your kid.
Yes.
I think this is the fervent prayers of my parents that got me through a lot of things. Where
Yes.
there are times that I know I should have been dead by now. I've played with a lot of stuff. I've played with arms. I should be dead by now. But I know also that my dad and mom are on their knees praying for me.
Wow.
So yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of evil, I fear no evil.
Yeah.
I've walked in places that people, when the people don't come out.
Mm.
There are some places in Ghana that are known to be havens for gangs.
Mm.
And I've been asked to go and take things from people and come back that I did not know it was a setup.
Wow.
That I've been there and come back unscathed.
Wow.
But it's by God's grace and God's favor. So the first thing is, there's nobody who is going to pray for your child as with the whole heart as you, the parent. So lots of prayers.
Yes.
And it takes a community to pray for that person too.
Yes.
My mom belonged to a prayer group. I think they call themselves Company C. They prayed a lot for us. You know what? Sometimes I know their prayers were so strong that I don't mind. I don't mind walking in the den of lions, because if even I don't pray for myself, I know somebody is praying for me.
Yes.
So that is to surround yourself with prayers. Pray for your kid. Never give up on praying for your kid. My mom had visions. My mom had dreams. People told them about dreams that we will all be dead before our 20th birthday and a whole lot. I had dreams that I would be dead and a whole lot, but God saw us through. So never stop praying. As a community member, we can do a lot.
Okay.
Let us be that adult, that friend that a child can confide in you. And you can help. Because I told you it was the church family that brought me. There was a lady in the church who paid me to read. There was a lady in the church that gave me money to start entrepreneurship. There's a man in our church that will check on you, and like he's a guy in the church that you can talk about sex with. How cool. You can talk anything, any subject. Talk about stealing, talk about this, talk about, he is there, he will listen. He will smile. But also give you a shoulder.
Yeah.
I cannot talk to my dad about such things.
Yeah.
But there were adults in the church. There were opportunity too in church for us to take some of this energy out. We are blessed with this beautiful facility. Usually young men need to take some of this energy out. My dad did things that I think he was intentional about it, but we did not know. He got weights in the house for us to lift. He took some of our testosterone energy out. He got us a table tennis set that all the boys in the neighborhood will come and play table tennis.
Wow.
And sometimes when it's time for Wednesday prayer meeting, all the guys after praying table tennis will join us and go and sit in church. Because after church maybe there will be food. Food was a huge draw. My mom, when she cooks summer, she's cooking for 20 people.
Wow.
There are guys in the neighborhood that will come and eat at our place. Like, my parents created a community for us to thrive in. So remember, our current society is very individualistic.
Yeah.
It's my kid, it's mine, this, it's no.
Yeah.
It's the Ubuntu spirit, as the South Africans will call it. I exist because you are. Okay. So they created a community. So if you know the type of friends, so I had friends who drink alcohol, but because they know they are coming to my house and my dad is there, my dad will come and have a chat with you. And do you know my dad what you say? My dad will say you have a nice breath. He's not saying it. He says you have a nice breath. And they will start laughing. They're like, your dad is so cool. All he said is you have a nice breath.
Yeah.
You get what? They know he picks it up that they've been drinking. I have friends that are not Adventists that will call me and ask me about my dad. Where is my dad now? So let's create that community.
Yes.
Let us support each other.
Yeah.
Let us, and also parents, let us form groups that we can share knowledge, because there's so much knowledge around. This phone is killing our kids. If I share what I've been, some parents have shared with me that I thought I work in mental health, I should know. I didn't know this. There is even websites that will teach a kid how to kill themselves.
Wow.
My daughter came to share with me after she returned from Camp Hope. Adventist camp.
Yeah.
that there's a website that teaches her how to kill herself. And I asked her if she should give me the name of the website. True. It was true because I had heard it. I've heard of it.
Wow.
So, but if we do not have these conversations, if we do not, if you take care of somebody's child, you are taking care of your child because that person's child has more influence on your child than you think.
Wow. Wow.
Most kids will listen to their peers for advice, not you, the parent.
Yeah.
So if you surround your child with good friends, very likely they will. Since all of us went to university in our church because everybody was going to university and it was a cool thing to do. I know communities that most of the kids did not go to university because everybody wanted to get money or stuff like that. But in the community that we were gathering, you dare not say you're not going to university.
Yeah.
It was not cool to have a kid before you were 18, the community that because all the parents were friends. There was a community. It takes community. Our world is very lonely. 1 in 2 of us are lonely. For the pediatric or children, it's even worse. I cannot overemphasize the need for an Acts 2 church. That is God's way.
Yes. Yes.
The world is so lonely. The world is so lonely. In some Western countries like Japan, in UK, there's a minister for loneliness. Our church can be that, can fill that gap, that void that this world needs. We are spiritual beings, we are religious beings, and we are also social beings. God created us for each other.
Wow. And I know we talked about something that I love the term that you call it protected time.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So this is what I have noticed or read in a lot of books in terms of parenting. In North America, we do not have time, and time, there are various instruments and designs that is intentionally stealing time from us. Our phones, our work, we work from all sorts of locations.
Yeah.
It's stealing time from us. There's entertainment stealing time from us. We do not sleep in North America. Yes, we do not sleep. For an adult, we need 8 hours of sleep. I'm yet to see an adult who is having 8 hours
With like quality
sleep.
Yeah.
There's a difference between the duration of sleep and the quality of your sleep. Sometimes people will tell you about I have 8 hours, but are those 8 hours restful sleep? Or you start there perseverating about every movement, like I told you about a couple of days ago that I slept, but I could not sleep.
Yeah.
So having protected time helps us engage.
Yes.
It brings quality
Yes.
to the engagement.
Yeah.
So as parents, our kids, and this is something my parents did for us. We had protected meal times. During those meal times, you can't bring books, you can't bring anything to the table. You cannot be chatting with your friend. No, those days we didn't have anything. You look to each other's eyes. You looked into my parents' eyes. We all eat together, and after we have some short conversations.
Yeah.
We started doing it at home, and it has been amazing.
Wow.
I've had opportunity to talk to all kids about drugs, about money, about a little bit about sex. But there's that area I need to explore more. But about bullying, about racism, about so many topics. And sometimes the spontaneous questions that comes up at this dinner table or being at home, doing virtually nothing, has been amazing. And I wonder if I were not to be home, available, would they have that opportunity to ask me the question? Because kids are not like us that they will have to plan everything out. Well, some kids are like that. Plan everything out and ask you. Things just come up. Spontaneous.
Yes.
And they ask you questions.
Yeah.
My son have asked me some serious questions that days after, I just thank God that I was home and I was present.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that protected time is that time where
Yes.
there's no distractions.
There's
you're
no
not,
distraction.
You're not letting outside influences
Yes.
take that time, but you're
Yes.
just not just physically present, but mentally, emotionally present.
And I can also share this. For families that I know have got neurodevelopmental children, children on the neurodevelopmental spectrum or autism spectrum, I have noticed a pattern. If mostly such parents do not have protected time before they had these children,
Yeah.
and during their time of nurturing these children, they struggle with protected time. I can see outcomes improve dramatically. If they have protected time
Wow.
with their kids
Wow.
and do not leave the nurturing of the kid to a device.
Yes. Wow. So one, prayer,
Prayer,
community,
community.
protected time.
Yes.
And I know we talked about, this is the theme of the episode, grace.
God's grace.
God's grace, right?
Yes.
Because we were talking about this earlier, and you were saying that something that astounded me. You said that some of the symptoms or the behaviors that people are going through are not just a product of their immediate situation, but they're a product of the traumas that are inherited from their great-grandparents.
Yes. And we know when we had Dr. Gabor Mate here,
Yes.
He spoke about epigenetics.
Yes.
And how it is transferred. And I know we will explore it as
We're
we talk
in
about
episode 3, so I don't want to get too much into it.
Mental illness.
Yeah.
But we know significant. There are several etiological factors for mental health.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people may argue we have pathologized everything. We have not. But genetics, biology plays a role in our
Yes.
mental health. Our environment
Yes.
now can affect how our genes, the quality of our genes, and the characteristics our grandkids have.
Wow.
Our environment now that we
Yes.
survive in plays a role.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of factors, a lot of factors
Yeah.
that plays a role. We do the best we can
Yeah.
and leave the rest to God.
Yeah.
We are not God.
Yes.
But I'm not saying if you do all this, you don't need God.
Yeah.
God has granted us the wisdom.
Yes.
God has granted us the grace. God
Yeah.
has granted us the knowledge around
Yeah.
for us to live healthy, happy lives until He returns to take His precious people home.
Wow. So grace, not only for your kids
Yes.
who may be acting in response to traumas that we don't even know have existed, but I think also grace for you as parents, right?
Yes,
To say,
we do.
okay, well, it's not me as a parent that screwed that up. Like there are factors outside of my control that play a role
Yes.
in what I'm experiencing or what my
And the good thing
children-
is once you know, you are aware of all the trauma that you have inherited. And remember, it's not just you.
Yes.
Your spouse and you, your wife and you have inherited. You intentionally work on a plan to mitigate the risk factors.
Yep.
And put in not a consistent. It's the intentionality and the consistency. Because sometimes we come out with great plans, but we are not consistent in being aware. So between my wife and I, we know sleep is important. We both come from places of trauma. So we have put in checks and balances at our home to promote good sleep hygiene.
Wow.
I wish we will talk about mental health and sleep at some point in time.
Yep.
But sleep is a huge one. Huge one. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So we are aware that we are susceptible to certain autoimmune disorders, cancers, and so on because of the trauma we carry. Yes. So you put in steps.
Yeah.
I'm sure my kids now will be asking, hey, have you got cancer? Have you got this? It's not to bathe them in fear, but bathe them in faith in response to the fear they may have.
Yes.
Because faith quenches all fear.
All fear. Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, Kofi, thank you for that. And I hope if you're listening and you're a parent, I hope that you've taken something out, especially in this last part of the conversation, to kind of give you a little bit of hope
Yes.
and a structure going forward for maybe the challenges that you're facing with your kids. And if you don't have kids, or even if you do and you're part of our community, we really want to encourage you to be that safe person for someone, for our youth, for our young adults, to be that voice of godly counsel and comfort, like you said, that shoulder that someone can come to. Because you're right, we don't often go to our parents, so we just really want to nurture that in our own community. And if you're a kid that's listening, stop being naughty. But it's lean on God.
Lean on God.
Lean on God.
Lean on God. It's not worth it. Sometimes that you want to get a cool story, you want to have a testimony, and one day you have it. Sometimes I ask myself, is it worth it? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
There are scars.
Yes.
There are scars.
Yes.
And scars don't heal.
No.
Easily.
Yeah, they take time.
Yeah.
Well, Kofi, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited for the next episodes that we're going to be exploring mental health. The next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about, what is mental health. We're going to be exploring some of the broad topics of it, and just kind of giving you an overview so that, it's a buzzword right now, especially in society, mental health. But what does it mean? What is it? What are some of the areas of mental health, and how is it connected to physical health? So we're going to explore that. And then we're also going to talk about epigenetics and I always get them mixed up. Epigenetics or epigenics? Epigenetics, yeah. So we're going to explore epigenetics and the generational trauma and some of that takes place in us. And then we're also going to talk about the interface, the cross-section between spirituality and mental health. So you're not going to want to miss those episodes, and we will see you in a while. Hey, we want to thank you for tuning in to the CIV podcast, where we get to explore different stories and topics related to faith and spirituality. As you consider how you give this year, we want to encourage you to give to discipleship and evangelism. That not only helps us with our podcast, but it also helps us with all the amazing things that we're doing here at CIV, like the workshops, the trainings, the classes, and the programs that are aiming at creating holistic, healthy disciples who make disciples. Thank you so much for supporting our ministries here at CIV. And as always, don't forget to love God, love people, and serve the world.